7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fresh presents Que Bola, where we talk to various movers and hustlers who are popping off and succeeding in the 305 and at the same time influencing the culture. I'm your boy D Fig. Holla at your boy when you see me in the street. Ew. Yo, what's Gucci, my dog? You already know what it is. It's your boy D Fig. Holla at your boy when you see me in the street. This is a very dope episode of the Que Bola podcast. Not that any of them are not dope, yo. I gotta say, I love my own shit. With this episode, I've been trying to book this particular person for a minute, and all the stars aligned, and it's a dope episode. Without further ado, I bring to you on the Que Bola podcast, Billy Corben, 305 AF. Let's get into it, all right? Listo. So, everybody, we are in a new episode of the Que Bola podcast. You know what it is. It's your boy D Fig. Holla at your boy when you see me in the street. In the studio, we have filmmaker, documentarian, political commentator, Miami native, Mr. Billy Corben.
What's up, Darwin? Thanks for having me, dude.
Thank you for coming on to the podcast, Billy.
It's great to be here. I should correct you, though. I am a Florida native.
Okay.
And a lifelong Miamian. I was born in Fort Myers, and we moved down here when I was about 3 years old.
I mean, that gives you the Miami pass, you know?
I think so, and especially because, like, it's from an era where, like, almost everybody was from someplace else. You know, my parents were born in Philly, and like, everybody... That was a staple for a while in Miami, that, like, you ask someone where they're from, and they would say... Philly, Chicago, New York, Cuba, Colombia, that everybody was from someplace else.
I mean, it's still like that.
It's still like that. Well, but for a minute, when you had, people who had moved here, technically everybody in Miami is an immigrant, whether you were an American immigrant or a South American immigrant or wherever you came from, we all came from someplace else for the most part. And then there started to be a generation of, like, 305 till I die kind of people for a minute.
Like
for a minute,
the second geners.
Yeah, for a minute, or like third generation. Right? You had like grandparents, parents, kids, and then maybe grandkids, and then you suddenly had like native-born Miamians. But like in a generation where it felt like, oh, there's like this grassroots kind of thing happening, and then it kind of
fizzled out.
It's not that it fizzled out. It's not that it fizzled out.
Yeah.
I talk with my hands, so it's gonna be a lot of that. It can be a lot of violence here against these mic stands, But it's not that it fizzled out, but it diffused. There's like a perpetual brain drain. So some of the most talented people in you name the sector moved out. Yeah. And two, we keep having this influx of outsiders, as we always have, that dilute the Miami pool.
For a long time there was really no industry to keep
absolutely
a lot of a lot of the talent.
Right. Well, that's what I meant. I mean, I didn't mean like it was like they were like they were choosing to go. No, I mean, no. Nobody
chooses to leave Miami.
There's no indigenous industry. There still really isn't. I'm sorry. We're a tech hub now. Yeah, my bad. We're a tech hub. My bad.
I don't know what the heck we are. We're just I feel like South Florida is one of those mishmash of just like all these various cultures that are trying to one-up each other, because it's like in other cities. I just came back from Boston, right? Literally last weekend. And you see, like, in Boston, people really are, like, about Boston, right? This, like, it's Boston this, it's Boston that, the Boston baked beans, the Boston that, Cambridge. Yeah, they will talk your death off. The lobster rolls, all about Boston, right? South Florida doesn't have that. South Florida is like, oh, I'm Colombian and we have bandeja paisa. Or I'm Nicaraguan and I have the fritanga, right? So then they're all like, all these various cultures are just trying to like be the superior culture, and it all like matches together.
Yeah, you don't want to get into a road rage incident in Miami until you see which flag is hanging from the rearview mirror. You have to know what's going on and who you're dealing with and what. I mean, listen, I always talk about Miami as being the series of fiefdoms, of self-segregated fiefdoms, and everybody found a way to kind of coexist with their own kind instead of mixing it up like the melting pot that people I think mistakenly believe that we are. It is a much more divided.
Self-segregated
and self-centered. I think. Look at the way we drive. I mean, it's just like, why can't we just accept that Miami is a shared experience, that we're all in this craziness together. But but listen, it's not called our Amy. It's called my fucking Amy.
Okay, so all right. So this is I wanted to ask you this, right? When I was telling my friends, yo, I'm gonna talk to Billy Corben. What should I talk to him about, this and that? The question kept coming up about your critics, right? Your critics normally say that you only talk negative about Miami, right?
Okay.
First of all, what do you say to that? And second of all, like, how do you, I understand what you're doing, and I applaud you for it, but a lot of the times people don't understand that you're trying to educate them and put them onto like various topics that if they're not paying attention to, will just slide underneath the rug. You feel me?
I understand that in a party town, the skeptic is a buzzkill.
Okay.
I get that. In a place where, where we don't have reality, we have realty.
Yeah.
In a place where lies are hate, I'm sorry. In a place where truth is hate and lies are love.
Yeah.
Like, what good does that do? Robert Kennedy said, hang a lantern on your problems.
Yeah.
Which is to say that if you know something's wrong with you, put a spotlight on it. Basically to say, hey, listen, this is what we need to work on. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. Listen, in this town, people love to look into a mirror, but usually only snort a line off of it, okay? We need to start... if there's going to be any self-improvement, if there's going to be anything... Listen, these are the same motherfuckers that drive like assholes on the road because where they're going is so much more important than where you have to go.
I mean,
these
the
are the
red
same
light
people who
oftentimes...
are extremely... Like, what I'm saying is that, like, I see this as a community.
Yeah.
And in order to improve a community, you have to call out what's wrong with it. And there's a lot of shit that's wrong. By the way, there's plenty of people to follow on social media that lie to you.
Okay.
Any of the politicians. There's plenty of social media with beautiful drone footage of Miami. Yeah. There's plenty of social media that tells you what's great about Miami. Okay? There's not enough social media that tells you the truth.
All right. I feel you. I mean, I completely understand and agree with that. It's basically like trying to cleanse yourself, and the only way you could really cleanse yourself is you have to deal with the ugly sides of it. A lot of the people in South Florida...
Confess your sins?
Yeah, confess your sins. Exactly. Confess the fucking sins. I mean, I feel like, okay, you started off your documentarian, like, field, your industry, with that first doc that you did about the UF case on rape.
Raw deal.
Raw deal. I mean, so your entire, like, career has been, like, shining a spotlight on the bullshit, right? Instead of fluffing up the...
Yeah, we make documentaries. I mean, so for a living, we're trying to amplify stories, whether they've been told or untold, but amplify stories that tell the truth about whatever the subject may be. So, and a lot of our stuff is very, it's Florida fuckery. That's our genre, or Miami-centric. And in order to do that, you're going to shine a light on some dark corners. It's the same shit I do on social media. It's the same thing I do with what people call my political activism. It's the same shit. You shine a light on the shade. And people don't like that. There's so
people
many.
Hate that
you said
shit,
it, by
bro.
the way, you said it yourself. There's not a lot of indigenous industry here, which is what caused the brain drain and talented people in all fields to move out of Miami for a very long time. So the people that are left, they really have to exist in the ecosystem that's here. And a lot of that is corruption. And a lot of that is illegality. What do I say? I said, Miami, we have a big black market. Yeah. We have a little white market, like legit market. And then most of it is gray. Right. We exist in this gray area for a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's the reality. And so when people, become... we're all hustlers. Nobody has one job. I don't have one job.
Yeah.
And that's true of people in politics too. So so when they go to work for the people, when they get elected, they're not going to work for the people. They're going to work for their clients, not their constituents, for their other job, for their private sector gigs. Yeah. They're not going to work for us and to help us. Mm. And if people have a problem with me calling that out, then they need to vote better.
Okay, now, boom, next topic. I was about to ask you this.
Yeah.
So you focus on creating these documentaries that expose and educate the vast majority of people, right? The hoi polloi.
We try.
You try. And I think you do a very good job at
Thanks.
it. But how do you get the people to go out and vote, man? Like, how, like, honestly.
I don't. If I knew that,
like,
I wouldn't be here. I'd be out doing it. Knocking on doors, I guess.
That shit is intense.
Yeah.
That is a very, very, like, crazy, scary thing to see. When I look at, like, the election results that they publish on miamidade.gov, right? You could go and check out the election results.
And the turnout's scary, right? Yeah.
Somebody gets elected mayor, 588 votes. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
And maybe a total of, 50,000 people might have even shown up to vote for either or any of the candidates.
Like, what the and then, but then the vast majority of people want to jump on social media and make a big ass fuss, but they never show up to the polls to try to change the leadership. Like, but you know who shows up? Baby boomers, dog. Older people show up like on point.
They know the power of their vote. Yeah, they understand.
And they control the narrative. They control, like, that's why candidates are putting themselves up and throwing these narratives at them, because I mean the younger generations just don't vote. How do you address that? How do we help that? Like,
well, it's really tough because obviously we've grown up in an era in which we've witnessed the death of faith and trust in so many institutions.
That's a fact.
Everything they told us when we were growing up that we could trust and rely upon, our church, call the police if you need help or you're in trouble. The postal service, whatever institution you can think of, we have seen it, our faith in it collapse. And what happens is that creates a generation of people who don't trust the system, and it creates this both sidesism, this idea, well, it doesn't matter if I vote, because no matter who I vote for, it turns out fucked up. While I can't fundamentally disagree with that perspective, I will say that in a democracy, we get the government that we deserve. So if you're going to be defeatist about it, you're never going to change anything. You have to try. And that's why I beat my head up against the fucking wall every single election cycle, whether it's an off year, an even year. And there's a lot of manipulation of that process too, where like we have these local races, there's 34 municipalities in Dade County. These are the fiefdoms. This is the Game of Thrones-ness of Miami, with everyone flying a different flag, and what happens in these municipal elections, they're even more important than your national elections. People know who's running for president. Yeah. People don't know who their fucking local commissioner is. Yeah. And that's the woman or the man that you call when you have real immediate problems.
Yeah, when you got real issues.
Real problems. With your trash, with your traffic lights, with the stop sign, with the potholes, with the police. Those are your local officials. People don't even know what cities they live in, or townships, or villages, or municipality. They don't even know. It's hard to keep up. I get it. And then we have this diffusion of responsibility where it's like the city points at the county, who points at the state, who points at the feds, who points at the city, and then everybody's like, well, nobody's taking responsibility for any of this, but yet we pay all these governments, and we have all these people who supposedly represent us, and where the fuck are they? And I get it, but what I would say is that we can do better, and I think we need to start by not only voting, we have to start by people know who good people are. You could lie to yourself, you could lie to other people, but you know who good people. You know a good person when you know them, and you know if you're a good person or not. Yeah. And we have to get good people to run for office. That's the first thing that we have to do.
Wow, that's hard as fuck, bro. Because the way that the political system works now, everything's so politicized, like social media is going to track everything that person has done ever, or at least since social media started. They're going to pull out a tweet from 2001 when they said some controversial ass shit. Everybody says some controversial shit.
But if there's something the Republicans have taught us is very little of that matters. Meaning, if you're ultimately if you've made some mistake, in some cases, if you're a criminal, you can still get elected or reelected in this town. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but what I'm saying is that we are okay. We are increasingly okay with fundamentally flawed people now because we have seen so many of them and because we are all them.
What's up with this senator then? What was that guy from Minnesota, the comedian who stepped down over some...
Al Franken.
Like... Bro, Donald Trump was president saying grab him by the pussy, and Al Franken stepped down over some I don't know what the actual facts of that particular situation was, but I know that it was to the point where he should have stepped down as a senator.
It may have been an overcorrection, Darwin. It may have been an overcorrection. It may have been a disproportionate response, not only to the particulars of his issues, but in the moment. To your point,
okay.
So I think you might be onto something.
So
there.
All right, so these people, but
well, this is the problem.
That's the thing. Continuously, like one constituency doesn't give a single fuck about those things.
Correct.
The other constituency is like so caught up, like, oh my God, like this person didn't do the most woke thing ever. Like, what the fuck? Like, you cannot find somebody that's gonna want to do that, right? And is a good person because they're
no one's going to pass every woke test. It's
exactly.
impossible. No one's going to score 100% on the wokeness scale. It's impossible.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
So it's a very hard.
And it doesn't matter what your gender is or what your color is or what your nationality. Nobody is going to pass that 100%.
It's hard for you to then put yourself in that public limelight and then run for public office. So that's why we get caught with these. Because I was talking to
with trash.
Yeah.
In Miami, we don't recycle our garbage; we re-elect it.
Yeah. Andrew Otaso, he came out to the
Miami Creation
Myth. We were talking about it, and then I was like, yo, why is it that these fucking politicians are so trash? He's like, well, like you were saying, that's not your first job. This is like your third or fourth job. Yeah. And for you to even run for that, you got to have a job that sustains your lifestyle to be able to. So what kind of person has that kind of bread?
Somebody's got to pay to sustain your lifestyle.
You know what I'm saying?
The lobbyists do, the lawyers do, the developers do. That's why a lot of these municipalities are really nothing more than the real estate hustles disguised as government. They're basically just here to serve developers. They don't care about our natural resources. They don't care about us having a sustainable future. They don't care about us having clean water. They don't care about us having this very unique ecosystem, the Everglades. But
I also noticed that a lot of them are old people, older people.
But even the young people suck. And they all have the same last names as the people we've been electing for generations. It's all just like I said, we don't recycle our trash. We re-elect it, and that becomes a problem. What local politics has become. It's become a multi-generational hustle. It's become because as soon as you get a taste of that public money, it's more addictive than crack cocaine. Because the second you see like there's all this easy money out there just lying there in wait, and when we incorporated cities, the spirit of incorporation, in part, in addition to being the construct of developers who wanted to run their own cities and own their own cities, in addition to that, the spirit of modern incorporation was local control. It was the idea that we're going to keep more of our money and the control of our communities and our neighborhoods in local control. We're going to elect local people. We're going to have our own city hall, not all the way in downtown Miami if we live in, friggin' Kendall, but we're going to have a local government that answers to us. It's going to create more accountability and more transparency because the people who are governing us are our friends and neighbors and not people from some other part of town. What it actually became in practice and is today is 34 new ways for them to steal from us. 34 more budgets, nearly 34 new police departments, 34 new city hall. And so what you have is you have unions and you have public unions like police unions, the FOP, the PBA. You have lobbyists and you have dynastic political crime families who basically stake a claim in a city and then they're just bloodsuckers.
Like this guy was trying to do in Westchester. That one commissioner.
And, that's the other thing. They keep trying to create. Yeah. Sally Heyman tried to do it in North Miami Beach. Everybody's like, well, I'm going to get, because we added term limits. Yeah. In our infinite wisdom, we added term limits. So now so now when they're term limited out, they go, where's my next political hustle? Yeah. So the county commissioners try to create a new fucking city that they can then be the mayor of.
They could be the new king.
Fucking nuts. Or the queen. Yeah, queen. Totally. King absolutely. Queen.
That shit is intense. All right, so now this rolls into a next topic, right? So, I mean, I have this theory that Miami's going to be like going into real estate death spiral within the next 30, 40 years, right? Certain neighborhoods are going to be going into a real estate death spiral because climate change is going to continuously show its face and certain areas are just not prepared for that. primarily, I think Doral's just like, I don't understand what the fuck's going on out there. That's literally swampland from the beginning. Like, you literally sold somebody some swampland.
Doral is incredible.
For $1 million.
I'm sorry. Doral is hilarious. Like, Doral is like unbelievable. Like, Doral did it more right than Sunny Isles did. I mean, Doral's hilarious. Like, downtown Doral and that Main Street and everything is like, it's amazing. Yeah.
It's
like,
wild.
City
they're
Place.
blowing it up, and it's
it's hilarious.
I'm just like, yo, like in 30 years, this shit's gonna be like continuously flooded 24/7, and like your real estate property is gonna start showing that. Insurers are not gonna want to insure a house that's continuously getting fucking flooded, right?
Yeah, forget Teslas. Invest in airboats, I say.
Yeah. So like,
we need electric airboats. Where's Elon Musk when we need him?
Electric airboat.
That's
I like
what we
that
need.
shit. It came out of our podcast. Like, legit, dude. So how do you feel? Okay, so like, I spoke to my boy who came out to the podcast. He was talking about Miami climate change. And he wrote a book about it, and he has this one line in there that says, "The city that I love will soon be underwater." So that's always stuck in my head, right? My question is like, how is it that these
was it Mario Disposable City?
Mario, Mario, I always forget his last name. He's gonna kill me.
Me too. I feel like a schmuck right now. Too, should edit this.
Yes,
to us just saying
I'm gonna put it on top. That dude. Yeah. So
the name of the book is
City.
Disposable City.
Yeah.
Go out and buy it.
Yeah, 100%. That shit is.
He doesn't give a shit if we remember his last name as long as we tell people to plug the book.
Disposable City.
Buy
that shit, you gotta buy it. Audible, whatever the fuck. That's just telling you.
How about go to Books and Books?
Go to Books and Books, buy local, buy it local. And you might even run into him. He was signing for you, bro. Like, he local as fuck. So it's like one of those situations where he's like putting forth all these facts about how like all this
sounds like a hater to me.
Hater as fuck. Like,
sounds like a hater to me.
He's a hater. Hater as fuck.
Sounds like a hater. Sounds like hey, that guy.
So, but like, how do you foresee that, like, how do you foresee that playing out? The whole death spiral.
We are in the middle of that death spiral right now.
Okay.
And what's happening is the people who are supposed to be our leaders are just trying to grab as much money on the way down as they possibly can.
That's what you think was popping?
Oh yes. Oh no, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. I mean, we watch that happen. You look at the county commission meetings, you look at the city commission meetings, the village council meetings, or any of these things, and you can just see it happening. We watched it happen our whole lives. There is not a care for our natural resources. There's not a care for clean water, for crying out loud. Yeah. Look what we've done to our bay. Look at the state of our drinking water. Look at the state of Turkey Point. Okay, that's not okay. Yeah. One bad day at Turkey Point, and they've had more than one bad day, but one really bad day at Turkey Point. And that's the end of all this. Anyway, yeah. But like, that's beside that. That's less likely than what's going to nail us from above and below, and that is an absolutely catastrophic, cataclysmic hurricane.
Yeah.
Natural storm. And what we actually have. You see, if you've been here long enough, it's easy to come here from someplace else and just go, like it rains and it gets flood. We've seen it get worse. Yeah. That's the thing. You've been here, right? That's the thing. You know that, like, okay, this puddle that used to be a puddle, that used to be up to my ankles, is now up to my calves. And someday it'll be up to your knees. And someday, and when it floods in a drizzle, or it floods
on a sunny day.
I mean, you have to, and every year of those king tides, the level gets a little bit higher. And there is not a lot we can do about it. But what little we can do about it, we're not doing. Yeah. Okay? And we're never going to commit to what it takes to actually mitigate that legitimately. Now we'll just be like, I know, let's just build the lobbies on the 5th floor and we'll build a marina. You'll be walking around Brickell and be like, what's that up there? You'd be like, that's a marina on the 11th floor, because someday that's where we're going to park my boat, up there. But that's the kind of dumb shit that they're doing right now. They're building as we speak.
Wow.
They're building as we speak the deepest underground parking lot in the history of Miami on Brickell, about 20 feet from the seawall, from the bay.
That's intense.
okay, what do you think's gonna? How do you think that's gonna go? It's been they're building it now, and then they're gonna build a fucking like 50-story building on top. And it's flooding now. They keep hitting the aquifer, and it's so it's not flooding from above like the rain. It's flooding from below.
Yeah. I mean,
look at Edgewater. You pay $4 million for an apartment, and it rains. I'm sorry, it floods in a drizzle, and you got the elevator shaft not working, and you're stuck on the 50th. Get out of here! I mean, like how? And they let them do that. The city let them build recklessly in order to maximize their profits and to fool a bunch of idiots from out of town to spend a boat full of Miami coin on a condo in Edgewater. I mean, get out of here.
All right, so
I'm sorry, I'm a hater. The realtors of Edgewater are going to be very, very upset.
Oh, for sure, they're going to fucking hate on us right now. So the thing that is real clutch that you just touched on right now is, all right, so these local energy companies like FPL, et cetera, have been caught running these ghost candidates against candidates who are progressive and want to try to do something about that. So, like you said, FPL, I grew up down south, man. I grew up in Color Ridge, not Color Bay, Color Ridge, and Ghouls, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I was at that AMC.
So yeah, exactly. AMC down south, you know? Like down south, every single year you would get this like FPL pamphlet that would let you know if Turkey Point explodes, where you gotta ride to, legit, dog. Like it'll tell you, like, if this shit is
duck and cover.
This is the radius of where the fuck everybody gonna die straight up.
Yeah.
And like my crib was like in the radius where everybody's gonna die, so I was like, I'm fucked regardless.
Yeah.
And then it was like
irregardless.
Irregardless, and it was like the next one is like 20 miles out to Kendall, and then up to like City of Miami, et cetera, and then they had like different cones, and I'm just like looking at this shit, and I would get this shit every year when I used to stay down south. And now, like, now that I read more how like FPL hasn't really serviced Turkey Point the way it should be, and the water that's been draining, there shouldn't really been draining in a certain way.
I want to make a horror movie about like alligators exposed to Turkey Point who become like Godzilla-esque creatures.
Well, they say they got some big ass caiman down there.
Yeah, there's actually a movie in the 80s called Island Claws.
Okay.
And Island Claws, they shot it mostly at Jimbo's, what used to be Jimbo's on
Key Biscayne.
Yeah, right off Key Biscayne and Virginia Key Beach.
Yeah.
And which used to be the Black Beach.
Yeah, Black Beach.
When you know, people forget that Miami was the Jim Crow segregated
100%.
South, and black people were not allowed on Miami Beach, on the beach. They were not allowed on Miami Beach after dark unless they worked in Miami Beach and were basically fingerprinted and tagged by the police, and they had a little badge going like, just going back home to Brownsville or going back home to Overtown or Liberty City. And so, long story even longer, Island Claws. It was this no budget movie, and it was about crabs that get exposed to radiation? At Turkey Point. What? And then one of them turn into these giant, ridiculous, like paper mache mechanical crabs that attack.
From the 50s?
No, the 80s.
Oh, from the 80s.
That attacks this little town, and the little town is the town that it was Jimbo's, basically, that Miami Vice helped kind of build up. And it was financed by a bunch of drug smugglers who were laundering their money through this movie Island Claws, which is a craptastic Miami 80s movie.
Wow, that's such a Miami story.
Oh, yeah.
Like, literally, not even the movie, like the whole story. The whole thing is Miami as fuck, dude. Like, drug dealers are involved.
Financing this terrible movie about crabs.
About the future, Point. Basically. About the future.
Yes. It was a documentary.
That's what it was. It was a doc. That's wild, bro.
Yes.
So, like, yeah, man, it's that's something that's added to the fucking fuckery. You know, like, these energy companies, like, putting ghost candidates forward.
Well, I don't know that they were. I mean, they were certainly in on it. They certainly helped finance it. We had 3 of them alone in the 2020 election, these ghost or shill candidates. And there's now 2 criminal cases, one in Dade County, one in Orlando, over the Republican operatives. And in the case of Central Florida, I think he wasn't just a Republican. He was like kind of a bipartisan operative who got arrested for running this scam. Who it did benefit,
they were funded by them, though.
Yes, but who it did benefit, though, was the Republicans, because the point was to put in these fake candidates who didn't have a website.
Yeah.
One of them, her picture isn't even online. She ran for
wild.
office, and there's no photos of her online. She left the country to go study. She's now under arrest. But the point was to create these fake progressive candidates. They sent out flyers with all of their progressive bona fides. In the case of Miami, in this state Senate race, you had Jose Javier Rodriguez, who was JJR, they call him, who was running against Ileana Garcia, a first-time candidate with no credentials, less than unqualified. And they ran a dude named Alex Rodriguez. So he has the same last name
as JJ,
as the Democrat running to create, and he got, with no website, no campaign, just money being funneled to him, paid to him to run by Frank Artilles, a Republican political operative and former Republican state senator. He got over 6,000 votes.
Yeah, siphoned it away from JJR.
Siphoned away, and Ileana Garcia won by 32 votes.
Yeah.
Cost him the election. But more importantly, also, and I don't want to just blame, who needs Republicans when you have Democrats? Because these Democrats suck, dude. Okay, they absolutely suck.
100%.
I've been a Democrat now for 4 years. It is so depressing. It is so. I've just never seen a bigger group of just losers. I don't know what else to say about it, and who don't know how to put up a fight and get totally hosed and rolled by these political grifters like Christian Olvert. He's the one who screwed up JGR's campaign. They knew they had a ghost candidate, a show candidate. They didn't do anything about it. They didn't tell anybody. They didn't publicize it. You had the president of the United States at the time, Donald Trump, yelling about election fraud. Yeah. Here was legit election fraud being done by the Republicans here in Florida.
Yeah.
And they didn't say shit. They just let it happen. So my point is that the Republicans didn't just beat them. The Democrats lost.
Yeah, they beat themselves.
They beat themselves. And that's what's happening now. Watching it implode, the whole party in the state of Florida and Miami-Dade County just implode in slow
I don't
motion.
even see it the whole state of Florida. I see it nationwide. Nationwide, I think they're imploding because they're just focused on the wrong issues. The vast majority focus on the wrong issues. And at the same time, they're not they don't have grit. That's what I see that Republicans, they have true grit. They will come out and I don't give a fuck how wrong my dog is. That's my dog, and I'm riding with him.
Some
to
of
the
it's
end.
not true grit. It might be grit, but it's not all true. A lot of it's very disingenuous.
But it
works. But they win elections.
Still works. They still come out. That's something that and the two-party system really isn't helping the general public at all. But then if you try to introduce a independent, then it siphons away votes from progressives. Yeah. So it's just completely screwed.
And I will tell you that Republican, we'll call them how politely to put it, kind of wild card candidates for Republicans find a lot more success than Democrats ever do. Because in the Democratic Party, there's a system of these consultant cowboys, these political grifters who they don't care if they win elections or not. They just care about getting paid. Yeah. And so you have these characters like Christian Olvert who come in here and absolutely the toxicity, they're a cancer on the party. And I've watched them now over 20 years turn the Democrats into a completely irrelevant, total non-entity in the state of Florida. And every single day you wake up and you're like, there's another humiliating catastrophe. And most of the roads lead back. I'll put it to you this way. Manny Diaz Sr. is doing to the Florida Democrats what Manny Diaz Jr. did to the Miami Hurricanes.
Damn, that's fucking tough, dog. That's fucking tough. Wow.
If there wasn't a mic stand, I would drop
that shit. Kick that shit. Get the fuck out of here. I'm out. Damn, that's intense, homie. Damn,
sorry. It's been a day. It's been a day. I've been just blowing up the Democrats. I don't know. A lot of them are unembarrassable too. Yeah. And you're watching these so-called progressives who are supposed to move Miami forward, just absolutely betray their constituents and be profound disappointments to the people who elected them.
So my bad. So let's talk about one of those people that I feel.
You're good with the segues, dude, by the way. You're real good with the segues.
Because you bring it into my head. Right now, the whole boondoggle with the Inter Miami happening over Melrose Park, Ken Russell just buckling over I don't know what the fuck he got.
Speaking of the worst Democrats,
That's what I'm telling
you. Or a man that exemplifies the worst of when we perceive the worst, wormiest, spineless, useless, ideologically free, just corporate for sale Democrats.
Yeah.
Ken Russell.
Ken Russell, 100%.
Put his picture in UrbanDictionary.com under Democrat.
The one respite that I give Ken Russell is that he's in Miami, and it's hard to be a Democrat.
I thought you were saying he's a world champion yo-yo player.
That's it.
He should go back to being a slinky salesman or whatever the hell he was doing before, because he is absolute. Speaking of people who turn their backs on the very people who elected them to office, I mean, he is just that perfect example of you keep voting for this shit. Yeah. What do you expect? It's shit in, shit out from this guy. This guy had an opportunity to be a hero, to make a real difference, to actually turn the screws and say, you want a no-bid, 99-year, below market value lease on the largest piece of property that the taxpayers, not the politicians, not the commissioners, but that the residents and taxpayers of the city of Miami own. We need to get the best deal that we possibly can. How do you expect a yo-yo salesman to negotiate against the likes of Jorge Mas and David Beckham?
But I think he knew that he had the leverage.
But what did he do with it?
That's what I'm saying.
He bent over for Beckham, and he bent over for Francis.
Francis
had him by the balls. Did you see him afterwards while Francis was going, bro, this is the greatest sports welfare deal in the history of all mankind. Yeah. Okay, buy Miami coin, bro. Yeah. When he Ken Russell behind him.
Yeah, it was squirming.
He looked like he was at a funeral. Yeah. Looked like his dog just died.
Because
pathetic. It was pathetic.
I don't understand what
he got played by a bunch of Republicans, by Commissioner Como Mierda, the wife Joe. My dad's hurting my mom, Corroyo. Alex Diaz La Portilla, that drunk. Okay, and he got rolled by three Republicans. Pushed him around and showed him who was boss, and this is the problem with the Democratic Party. All you have to do is
say no. That's what I'm saying. All right, so he was grandstanding before. He was like, "Oh, you think I'm gonna do this for $5 million walkway or some bullshit like that?" And then they're like, "All right, let's call a fucking timeout."
You saw Francis bro, what the fuck, bro?
Let's time out.
It's a tech hub, bro.
And then they took him to the back room. I don't know what the fuck they told him.
Oh, I know what the fuck they told him.
They had to have told him something wild, bro, for this guy to come out and be like, yeah, it's all good. He didn't even use his leverage.
No.
That's what I don't understand. How do you... Anybody who knows anything about business understands leverage is key.
Yeah.
And you had a shit ton of it, bro. They can't move forward.
I've never seen anything like that on television.
I've never seen that.
A guy with all the
cards. And
he folds.
I don't understand that. I literally, as a
that's politics, baby. That's politics.
Bro.
Someone had more leverage.
It has to be that. It has to be that somebody
but we don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is, but it has to be they got to have him peeing the Trump tapes or some shit. You know what I'm saying? They gotta have some hot shit. On Ken Russell, my dog.
Here's the thing.
For him to be bent over like that.
It may not be that convoluted or complicated or personal. It could just be he was convinced that Jorge Mas and Francis Suarez, these folks are going to help finance his congressional campaign. And he's not looking out for his constituents. He's looking out for his own political future. Now, right now, though,
what are you going to stand on? You can't even stand on. Yeah. What are they?
It doesn't matter. Money talks in these races. Money talks. I don't think he has a prayer, by the way, but that's beside the point. Crazier shit has happened. Maria Elvira Salazar is certifiably insane.
Yeah.
Okay. And even her base is kind of she might be a little bit.
Yeah,
much
I saw that
for
talk
me.
that she did a cow or something, they were asking.
That's Ileana Garcia.
Yeah.
But this lady goes on Fox News and embarrasses herself. So she's even on a friendly network, and they're like, "Lady, you're nuts." Yeah. But I think she's a better Republican than Ken Russell is a Democrat. Let me start there. And you're right. Ken Russell is not running a race, though, against Maria Elvira Salazar. He's running against, right now, his base. the progressives in his own party who have lost all faith, and rightfully so, in that man. So it's what you were just saying. What is he running on?
Yeah, like what's
he's
all
running
that
away from
for?
it. He's running away from his base. What is he running on? Yeah, he's got nothing. He can't run on anything. He's got no base left.
That's intense. And like how
this is a journey into base.
And it's bullshit. Like I was hearing how you were explaining how they're probably gonna like petition the federal government for grants to clean up the arsenic off that ground, which is then gonna be like it's all. And then there's just like, it's no taxpayer money. Like, what do you think these grants is, motherfucker?
Everything. So Ken Russell again. So the first thing Ken Russell did the day after the vote, while all these other motherfuckers are living large, they're at Cafe Abraci. They're at it's Friday. They were at Morton's. They were at Morton's smacking each other around or whatever it is they do. Okay. DLP was like fucking
wilding
six
out
deep on the black label. It's cheap. This guy, Ken Russell, was the only person the day after the vote going on TV trying to justify the grave mistake that he made. Nobody else. And then when I called him out on Twitter, I'm like, this is the only guy. All the other Republicans are sitting at home laughing at you, or at Morton's laughing at you, and you're on there going like, mea culpa. Like, no, it was a good thing. And then the second I said that, Francis Suarez comes running out of a restaurant to Channel 10 to do it. Because he didn't want to leave his boy Ken high and dry like that. And I was calling him out for it. So then just last week, how many weeks later is this? A month later?
Yeah.
Ken Russell writes an editorial, an op-ed in the Miami Herald, still trying to justify
like that
his vote.
move.
And guess what? All he did was copy and paste the talking points from a fucking Instagram meme that Inter Miami had put out. So it wasn't even his own position. Bro. It was their position. And then, as you said, every single one of these things is wrong. Like, you can go like, wait, no loss of park space, but who's going to pay for that, and where are those parks going to be?
They're going to get other city land, turn it into parks. That's what the fuck?
Well, they're also talking about taking city land where there's offices, knocking down the offices, putting a park there, and then buying more property from somebody else or another developer to then rebuild the thing. What I'm saying is that these are all real estate hustles.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to do. I wasn't against the soccer stadium, by the way.
Me neither.
I wanted a good deal for the soccer stadium because we're always the ones who get screwed.
I mean, the constituents always get screwed. They left so much money on the table.
So much.
That could have gone to so many, affordable housing, to shelter, food for the elderly.
I have a question. Christine King.
Yeah.
She is part of the Hardiman crime family.
Yeah.
They're absolute grifting criminals. The entire family. Keon Hardiman, his aunt Barbara, his uncle Billy, his uncle Roy, total grifters that have been feeding at the public trough and selling out their constituents for generations. And so Christine King was his anointed successor to his seat in District 5 in the city of Miami. Inter Miami owns property in her district. They own property in Overtown. Remember, that was the other
other site.
They also got to buy, no bid deal, from Miami-Dade County, a neighboring parcel, so they could theoretically build their parking lots next to the other piece of private property that they bought that was going to become their soccer stadium if in case of emergency. Did Christine King negotiate that you're going to build affordable housing, or you're going to commit those sites to affordable housing for my people, for my constituents who need it more than any? It's one of the poor, it's part of that district is Wynwood. The other part is one of, some of the poorest communities in Miami, in one of the poorest cities in the country, with with the highest cost of living and the highest increase in rent and property value. And did she negotiate that? She had leverage too.
Bro, okay, so
she didn't.
This all goes back to one of the situations I hear you say often. You say Miami of today is the United States of America of tomorrow. Yeah. So I feel like Miami's the birthplace of autocratic norms here, like autocratic norms, because I feel like it's like the breeding ground where oligarchs from South America, Central America, Russia, right? They come over here to figure out how to fuck with the American system before they go to other cities.
Launder their money through real estate.
Yeah. So they figure it out here because they know they can't do this fuckery in other cities because other cities are long established and they have a bunch of other safeguards that stops them from doing that. But here, there's no safeguards. So Miami's one of those places where, like, yo, you just like you got a shitload of ill-gotten gains from Guatemala or some shit. Come over here.
Ecuador is the latest, I think. Yeah.
Ecuador, Colombia is about to be the next one.
Venezuela,
you know, Venezuela, like 100%. Brazil, like all of these oligarchs come out here and they learn how to buy the political system to get the favors that they need.
Because we have that kind of operation here.
Because we have that kind of operation up and running over here.
You can get away with basically whatever. Because we don't have indigenous industry, we subsist from hustle to hustle. We need the money laundering.
Exactly.
Like, we need that outside revenue in order to sustain an economy.
But what it also does is it also creates self-generated autocratic norms here, such as Jorge Mas. With he started off, he came from Cuba, but he built his company here, right?
His dad.
So his dad. So he's competing against other oligarchs, right? That are trying to do the same thing for themselves.
Yes.
So now it's like, in Spanish, they say it's basically like sword shopping sword or some shit. So they're all fighting each other. So what he's doing is he's usurping these powers from the hoi polloi, the constituents, to build more millions on his wealth with the Melrose Park.
Well, what do you do? You gift them. I gift you soccer. Let them watch soccer while I steal
all
their
land.
property. Yeah.
Like, what does a fucking hotel and all this other shit have to do with soccer, bro?
Back in 2018, on the first vote on whether or not to put the issue to referendum on the ballot, I'll never forget this big commission meeting, and Keon Hardeman was the chairman at the time, running it all very corruptly, obviously, and all in favor of the oligarchs.
Yeah.
I'll use your term. And so one podium was for people for and one podium was for people against. There was a little bit of organized opposition, but usually there's not a lot of organized and well-funded opposition against an oligarch's real estate scheme.
Yeah.
It's mostly grassroots efforts, right?
They got Matt Bread. They could hire like...
And on the other side, a bunch of people wearing the same T-shirts, with Inter Fort Lauderdale on it, or whatever the name of the team is. And so I'll never forget, I was very impressed with the opposition. The opposition came up with there was people up there talking about the property value, people up there making higher offers.
Yeah, for
the land. There was people like really like up there with their shit, had done their homework. Speaking of oligarchs, Jorge Perez from Italy sent in an email going, "This is a shit deal." Like, sorry, bro. This is a shit deal. And it was a really informed constituency who was there in opposition. And I'll never forget this one dude on the other side comes up and he makes a few remarks, and then he closes with, "Soccer is love. Vote for love." And I was like, that's the point. You're like, that's the shiny the distraction. You fooled a bunch of people going, can you imagine my strongest argument for this deal is soccer is love. Can you imagine how clever that is, that you could practically hypnotize a constituency of people into thinking, by the way, soccer may be love. That may be true. But that's not a reason to vote for this deal.
Yeah, the deal's fucking suck. I mean, soccer is love. It's basically the same thing that FIFA has been saying forever, and that's why they also corrupt as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like another organization.
Qatar.
Corrupt
Seriously?
as fuck.
Seriously?
Like
FIFA? And we're not protesting. We're not gonna send players over there. We're not. I mean, like, what? Where's our morality? Soccer's. Hey, you got me, bro. Sorry.
You got me.
Drop the mic. That's it.
Soccer's love.
Soccer's love.
I mean, that's an intense. That shows you how lost the constituency really is when it comes to the, like, not only the organization, but like being able to convey a message to everybody else. Like, yo, that's that simple and that easy to decipher and like put throughout,
hypnotized. Shiny object. Follow the gold
you know
watch.
what? I bet you they probably got a big ass lobbyist firm to come up with that one line because they knew this is what it's gonna be. Because everybody isn't gonna follow all the details and all the other things. It's intense.
we're just, it's a town, we value, and I think it's true of most of the country, we simply value wealth and money over all else. And so when someone comes in, and it doesn't matter whether they're a multi-generation Miami oligarch, or they're just a tech bro or whatever, they just got here, as long as the checks are clearing and the booze is flowing. I'm the guy who shows up to an event and they're like, oh, it's an open bar. And I'm like, well, who's paying for this? Like, who's sponsoring this? And everybody else, all those people who think I'm a hater, go like, what do you get? Shut up, dude.
Yeah, shut up.
Shit's free, bro. Shit's free. Why you got to be a hater? Why, so like, and I'm like, well, no, I mean, I want to know whose booze I'm drinking. Yeah. I want to know, because I don't want to, listen, I go to restaurants a lot, and when someone will be like, oh, yo, are you Billy Corben? And I'll be like, are you a process server? And they'll be like, no. And I'll be like, then yeah. And they'll be like, and like, let's say it's someone who works there, it's an owner, be like, oh, I'd love to buy you dessert, or I'd love to buy, and I'm like, don't buy me shit. I'm happy to support, but I don't want to feel like obligated, right? I don't want to feel obligated, so I want to know. Now, have I never taken a free drink? Have I never? No, of course I have. But I want to draw like a very clear like line in the sand about where I stand on this kind of shit. Whereas politics, they don't give a fuck. And nobody in this town's like, oh, it's fucking free. Who gives a shit? It's free. And I'm like, I just want to know. I need to know. I need to know if someone's gonna come at me and be like, oh, you took this from so and so, or you owe me something, or what. I just got to know. And so like that's the problem I'm a pretty healthy capitalist, don't get me wrong. I also pay my fair share in taxes because I believe that this country that I was lucky enough to be born in has afforded me such extraordinary opportunities. And my parents and my grandparents, who also made the most of their opportunities as well, to give me an opportunity to make good. I believe that I need to pay into that same system that made me, in order that other people can have an education. I was a public school kid, can have health care. I have health care so that people can have opportunities on a more even playing field to accomplish what it is that I've accomplished. I feel that our country asks very little of us. Yeah. We're not conscripted into a military anymore. Yeah. It's a voluntary, basically we're asked, obviously follow the laws, but pay your taxes and go to jury duty. If that's the least you can do to live in this country and avail ourselves of these opportunities, I don't. But the people who these thousandaires who don't like Biden because he's going to tax people who make over $400,000. I'm like, motherfucker, that's not your problem.
Yeah, that's not your problem.
What do you care? And by the way, it's not taxing them more. It's taxing them the same percentage that how many months out of the year you work for the government? Yeah. You work for your government 3-4 plus months out of the year you're working for the government. But Jeff Bezos works for 1 month?
Not even.
Right. What I'm saying is, why shouldn't he put in the same time? Right. But we value that. Like Trump said, well, I don't pay taxes because I'm smart. Yeah. It's like, well, no, because you're a criminal. We all pay our fair share so that other people can have the opportunities and can enjoy this country and live in this environment and try to make something of themselves and fulfill what may be left of the American dream. What's wrong? That's not socialism. Yeah. That is, and I will tell you right now, there is no communist threat in this country. There is no threat. We will never be socialists. You know what the greatest threat? And you were bringing it up earlier about what Miami is really a peach tree dish for, and an incubator for, which is crony capitalism. That toxic crony capitalism. That's what fucks up a democracy. That's what fucks up capitalism because we're not on the same playing field. If I want a new office or a piece of property, I look online, I drive around looking for signs, right? Or I call a realtor. Jorge Mas calls the mayor. The mayor goes right to work for him as his private realtor. That's not how capitalism works.
That's not how it works in general.
That's closer to socialism or an oligarchy where an exclusive group of people and the government get to enjoy certain benefits and proceeds and the proletariat do not.
All right, but I feel like what you're saying is, I feel 100% that's right, but I also feel like it trickles down to everybody else who's achieved any kind of success.
Yeah.
What they want to do is they want to hoard that success for themselves.
Okay.
And for their children.
Yeah.
So what it does is it limits opportunities for everybody else.
Yeah.
Because the people who have achieved even a little bit of success, they're like, no, it took me a long time to get this success, so I'm gonna hoard this shit, and my kid is gonna get as much of this success as possible.
But if you got there legitimately, you understand that you
the hard work that it took you,
and you understand that you were a beneficiary of a system that that helped afford you an opportunity to get there and achieve those things. That's how I look at it. I look at these states as united. I look at this community as one. Not as 34, 100%. Municipalities. I look at it for how do we better ourselves. And what I find is that being in denial about who we are and what's going on here is not helping.
This goes back to what we started off with, the self-segregation.
A better informed electorate is a more powerful electorate. And we live in a community, by the way, in the city of Miami especially, where you have wannabe third world tin pot dictators. Okay, in Joe Carollo, in Diaz La Portilla. These guys, the government, we should not be afraid of the government. The 100%. Government should be afraid of us. I don't mean that in I mean that in we vote. Yeah. They should be doing like for us because we can vote them out.
What, Joe Carollo and Ball and Chain? That's a shame, bro. That's
Fidel Castro shit.
That is Fidel Castro shit.
Straight up, he is depriving them of their private property rights.
That's shameful shit.
That is fucking communist Fidel Castro shit. Yeah.
I mean, but
what do you want me to tell you? And now what? Little Havana votes for him. What are you gonna do? What can I say? They like a racist, anti-Semitic wife beater. What can I tell you? Yes. That's not my problem. That's who they voted for.
But this is what I mean by like self-segregation. If you don't walk in somebody else's shoes or look at things from other person's perspective, you're never really gonna be challenged to change your point of view or to change your thought process, right? But in South Florida lives continuously in this self-segregation where like everybody's clicked up. Like white Cubans are with white Cubans, and like Nicas are with Nicas, and Colombians are with Colombians, and Haitians are with Haitians, and Bahamians are with Bahamians, and Jamaicans, and all of them, it's hard for them to come together and really coalesce into one community because they never really express each other's like problems to each other. And where the other person could come in and be like, you know what, you're right about that, man. Like maybe little Haiti shouldn't be bought out by like all the real estate developers and kick out the Haitians out of there. Like maybe we should do something about that so you could have some kind of culture in South Florida, being that you've been here for fucking thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? Hundreds of years. It's one of those situations where if you don't stop and really get outside of your bubble, you're never going to really understand what the problem is from another person's perspective. And that is one of the key problems that keeps driving South Florida into even more and more opportunity hoarding. More and more, this is for me and for my community. It's not for you and yours. It's like the same thing where they say not in my backyard for affordable housing.
NIMBY, the old NIMBY routine.
Yeah, it's the same shit. It's like, yeah, you know what? Affordable housing, we need that shit. How about we do this down the street from you? Nah. Fuck that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better go find some other shit. That's what.
There is an empathy gap. You're absolutely right.
As fuck.
There is an empathy gap. AF. Yeah, it's the EGAF.
Yes.
Yes, the empathy gap is fuck. And it's hard to overcome that. And this is a complicated community. You know, we are a minority majority county. We have a unique ecosystem where the shameful tradition of most American cities is that black people are treated as second-class citizens. In Miami, they became third-class citizens. Anglos arguably became, in a way, it's like everybody kind of got pushed down the totem pole, and there's always, and then under that were Haitians and Bahamians, and you create an environment there where there's always been a lot of tension and resentment as a result of that. And people planting their flags, and as you said, everybody is for me and mine, and it becomes a very difficult environment to overcome that and to convince people that we are,
one people.
Yeah.
and the problems aren't us.
I am MDC.
It's the fuck. I am MDC. It's the politicians. It's not us. Like,
yes.
We need to come together, bro, and figure this shit out, and then put the people who truly represent our interest in power.
Because what you
How
see,
the fuck?
What you see is, you see when you look at those politicians when they sit up on that dais, the city of Miami. Look at Ken Russell.
Yes.
You know, look at Christine King. They're not Democrats up there. They're not, white or black or Cuban. They all just turn into crooks.
Yes.
Before our eyes. That's Ken Russell, Daniela Levine Cava, Eileen Higgins, people like this are living proof that you don't change the system changes you. And so I don't believe they started out corrupt like certain of these characters, did.
From the beginning.
But they went in there and they started to breathe those toxic fumes. Because if you just breathe the air in City Hall, you get it. Like you know this is like toxic, right? This is unhealthy. And so because the people aren't there. The people aren't there. That's why they have public meetings at 9 a.m. on a Thursday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Nobody in Miami. Yeah. You're at one of your 3-4 jobs. You can't. Yeah. They don't want you to participate in your government. They want this shit to happen kind of on the down low. Okay, and so when you go to the county commission meeting, go to government center, you go to City Hall. You know who's there? Lobbyists, lawyers, developers, people who either A, can afford to be able to take off work and go there, or B, they're paid to be there. Yeah. On the government side or in the private sector, they're literally being paid. And the rest of us have no say in this process. So what happens? Their constituents are not the voters anymore. Their constituents become the people they see every day at work, which are not the people of Miami. They are the oligarchs and the people who represent the oligarchs. Yeah. And that's what fucks with their brains. And so what happens is you don't see Ken Russell go up there and have the courage of his convictions. You don't see him doing the right thing. Yeah. You don't even see him defending himself. How can you vote for this guy for Congress? He won't even stand up for himself when he's being beaten up and pushed around by these clowns on the dais. How can you expect him to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for us? He won't fight for himself. Christine King doesn't say, Christine King doesn't say, I'm here to represent my community and do what's best for the people of District 5. She goes, what's up for me? Yeah. And she knows that she can horse trade with Carollo and DLP and Russ, and get shit, not that helps her district, but to help her. Same thing with Ken Russell. That doesn't help. That's not what his constituents or his voters want, but it's what he needs to line his pockets, to stroke his ego, and to further his political career. And that's the problem. They're no longer people who represent different districts. And why is there only five commissioners? Or why is there only 5 districts in a city with 500,000 people? Statistically, there should be probably twice that many. How is it that they...
Well, they want to concentrate that power.
That's exactly right. They don't want to. They don't want to share it. Yeah, that's exactly right. They don't
want to share it. I mean, it's really. I mean, I don't know if there's really a solution to it. I'm always continuously baffled by like how much shittier this shit is getting.
Just root for the storm.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's like
I hate to get Travis Bickle. Yeah. I hate to get all taxi driver someday a rain's gonna come and wash all the scum away.
I feel like what's good if there's ever a really big storm, like for real, this is just gonna get super whitewashed because that's what's happening right now. They're whitewashing it with a lot of the city of Miami, with Little Haiti. They're just building up all these developments. It's all just glass and concrete, taking away all the culture, taking away all the people who built the actual city, and they're bringing in Tech Hub, all these people from Boston and New York and LA and San Francisco.
There may be a way to coexist. I don't want to be anti-immigrant about it. I mean, but the point is there is a way to coexist. The problem is we have never prepared for it. We've never prepared for it.
It'd be great if they integrated into it, but what they're not. That's not what they're doing. They have the mentality to take over. It's like
well, they can. If you have the money in this town,
they have the money.
You can. Yeah. We roll out the red carpet. We say, "How can I help, bro?" Yeah. That's what we do. Not only that, but we have a mayor who promotes schemes.
Yeah,
he actively
promotes Miami
schemes. Whatever it is, he's a pitchman. Yeah, he's an MLM.
Yeah,
sales. He's not a mayor. He doesn't represent. And this is a guy who has 2 private sector jobs.
Yeah.
In addition to being the mayor of Miami, where he gets compensation package of over $136,000 a year, which incidentally is about 2 or 3 times the median income of a City of Miami resident. Plus, he gets over $1 million in misappropriated security.
Yeah,
with
taking three,
taking 3 cops, 3 cops a day.
Yeah,
so
full
3
time.
shifts a day, full time, to secure, to sit outside his empty house, in addition to all of his other Secret Service agents, when there's no known threats against him, and no other mayor in the history of the city has needed it or had that level of security. He also has 2 other private sector jobs, one of which is a real estate fund, and the other of which is a law firm with a very large digital assets and Web3 and
NFT and all of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
practice.
Yeah.
And blockchain practice. And so he also claims that his client list is secret because of attorney-client privilege, which A, is bullshit, and B, what this says is that not only do we see the money that's coming into his campaign and is coming into his political committee, so those are
dark money.
Public, but the darkest money of all, people who are hiring him to be their lobbyist, to be their lawyer, and he's not even disclosing that. So when he goes to work every day, he's not working for his constituents, he's working for his clients. When you see him sitting at the Miami Herald editorial board meeting with the editorial board on one side of the table, and on the other side of the table is Jorge Mas, shoulder to shoulder with Francis Suarez, who, while Jorge's talking, he's scribbling on his legal pad, like he's his lawyer. That was the moment when I said, in 2018, I said, who's sitting on our side of the table?
Yeah.
I see the mayor on
the side.
We're supposed to be
developer.
Negotiations are hostile, or they don't have to. I'm sorry, they don't have to be hostile, but they are competitive. They are, they are supposed to be conducted in an arm's length way, where it's like, hey, listen, I want something from you, you want something from me. It's adversarial. It doesn't have to be hostile, but it should be adversarial, right? He came unsolicited. What do you got?
Yeah.
You got, no, you got the mayor right there.
Already.
And I'm like, we're fucked. This thing's in the bag, man. Francis Suarez is bought and paid for. He's not a mayor. He's a pitchman. And he's totally in over his head right now. He's got people who are not much smarter than him talking in his ear, and then he's coming out here and going like, well, inflation is super bad, bro. And we should bomb Cuba. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, every time he opens his mouth, he humiliates the entire city. Everybody, by the way, is talking about him behind his back. Nobody has the cojones to actually stand up and say something to his face or say something publicly. Okay? So everybody's like, what are you all on him for? I'm like, because nobody else is telling the truth about this guy. Everybody else calls me and texts me, bro, but I'm
Nobody
like,
says,
woman up, man up. Yeah.
This guy's fucking up.
I'm like, well, everybody wants to tell me about him, and so because they know I'm the only one who'll say anything. But everybody's talking shit about this guy behind his back.
That's
Everyone.
Funny. They holler at you because they know you're gonna
blowing
say
up my phone. Ding 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 ding. It's like being at fucking Magic City Casino. Ding 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 ding. My phone. Okay, like I'm winning the slots. Okay, blowing me up, and I'm like, why don't you fucking tweet it?
Why don't you say that shit?
You say it. Maybe we can actually, here's an interesting story. There was a municipality in North Miami, North Dade area, and I was talking this a lot of years ago. I was talking to a woman who sits on the city commissioner council, whatever it is, committee, and it's a little nothing municipality. It's like a mile long, and they had a huge scandal that the Herald blew wide open
about the cop.
Yeah, and money laundering cops. And drug and terrorist money laundering cops because Miami. And so this thing blows wide open.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her about it, and she said, she goes, we had known about this, and we knew that people were poking around and asking questions about this, and we knew something was untoward because the chief kept coming to us, and there was all kinds of question marks, but we just kept rubber stamping whatever it is that he wanted.
Yeah.
He said, and it wasn't until the Herald finally came in
and blew it up,
threw a spotlight on it, uncovered all this shit that if they didn't know, they should have known.
Yeah.
But they didn't even ask the right questions on purpose about it. And she said, you know what? She said, oftentimes we need to be embarrassed into doing the right thing. And that's kind of the role that I want to play. I'm going to try to shame people into doing the right thing. The problem is we have way too many people in government right now who are unembarrassable.
Yeah, they're shameless.
Shameless. And part of the reason they're shameless is because they know that they can get away with it. And the reason they can get away with it is because for the last 30 years, we have the same state attorney, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, who has never prosecuted a police officer for an on-duty killing in her entire 30 years in office. She is the only state attorney we've had since Janet Reno left for the Clinton administration in like 93, 92.
Yeah,
I mean, and she has sent a message to public officials, not just police officers, but all public officials. I am not going to crack down on corruption. I'm not going to crack down on the truly toxic people in this. Why? Because she has to run for office too. She is one of them. When I say you're up there on the dais and you're not a Democrat or Republican, a black or white Cuban, you're just a crook. That's the problem. And so we're in an environment where the top cop, the most powerful elected position, she's more powerful than the governor.
Yeah.
I mean, any of the state attorneys are in any of the counties, and there's people know. Yo, I can shoot this motherfucker if I'm a cop, and I will never get prosecuted for. By the way, he can get more trouble if he doesn't kill him.
Yeah.
He doesn't kill him. He might get in trouble for that. But if I kill him, no problem. And you have people like Joe Carollo who commit crimes on live television, in commission meetings, and nothing happens.
You know what was crazy? When that commission meeting happened about the Inter Miami, they were talking about like, oh, we had a conversation different at your house or something like that. Oh, yeah. I'm like, yo, isn't there like Sunshine State laws?
Yeah, Sunshine laws, yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to like meet up and talk about.
You think anybody's investigating that?
Like, how the fuck is that happening? Like, like this guy literally said it. Like, it's not like, oh, let's go investigate this shit. Yeah. He literally said, oh yeah, basically just like through a regular conversation, admitted to breaking the law. And he could just do anything. Like,
admitted it.
He's like, oh, we're at your house talking about this shit, and that's not what you said.
The Miami Herald just published a recording this week.
I'm like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah,
dog?
just admitted to a crime, and nobody has done a thing.
That's intense. That's Miami for you, bro.
Yeah.
Because Miami, 100% right there.
Yeah.
Because Miami. That's disheartening, Billy. Like, that's literally.
Well, because I'm a hater.
No, it's not even that hate. It just makes you say fucking A, bro. Like, these motherfuckers could literally do whatever the fuck they want.
Here's the thing. They want you to be exhausted. They want you to be playing this perpetual game of whack-a-mole. I can't even keep up with the shit.
Bro.
And it wears you down to the point where you become complacent to it. And that's when autocracy
comes in.
It's when you let your guard down, when you say, I don't give a fuck, I'm not going to vote. I don't give a fuck, I'm not going to call these people out on their shit. That's when they win. They win when we stop bitching. They win when I stop hating. When I stop hating, they win. That's exactly when I say, you know what? If I just shut my mouth, I'd be richer. Yeah. I'd be better. I'd be everybody's friend. Listen, I already got the key to the city of Miami. I already got the key to the city. I don't need Billy Corben Day. Or what? I don't need bullshit declaration. I don't need to ride on the back of Pepe Diaz's motorcycle with my arms wrapped, well, not quite wrapped around his waist. Pepe, how many of you had to drink, Pepe? Commissioner DUI over there. I don't need to be liked by people who are doing bad
shit
in this community that I care about. You'll know when I stop hating that I stop caring, and when that happens. And not just me in general, but when people stop telling the truth, they stop caring, then we're all fucked. I'm not saying it's about me. I'm saying it's about people who want to make the place better.
Yeah.
When we stop caring, what's left? You say fuck it, I'm not going to do this podcast anymore and talk to people who are like-minded with me and who want to like push the city. Fuck it. When we started saying fuck it, then what's left? We're just going to drown. We're just waiting on the storm.
All right. Would you run for political office?
Never. Do you know how they say never say never?
Yeah.
Never.
Never as fuck.
Never as fuck. That's correct.
Why? Yeah. What would stop you?
Because, I believe that there are people who are, first of all, better at that than I am, number one. I know I'm aware of some of my weaknesses.
Okay.
You know, I think you have to be I try to be a little self-aware when possible. But the other thing is that what I've found is that a lot of people who are not good at politics, who enter politics and get elected, are completely ineffective, like Danielle Levine Cava, like Eileen Higgins, like Ken Russell, and then they become part of the problem. So my position is that I can do more good on the outside than I ever could from the inside.
So if you feel that if you get elected and you're not prepared to know how to play the politics before your constituents, then you become a grifter.
It's not just knowing how to play the politics. It's being able to effectively negotiate and compromise. I think I don't think that people would want to come to the table with me where they already know where I stand. I think they'd be very surprised, incidentally, if they did come to the table with me, that I'm pretty reasonable when it comes down to brass tacks and time to talk turkey. I'm ready. I'm always willing to compromise if it makes sense and if it's fair. I had a professor, Howard Wimmers, at high school at New World School of the Arts. He was our civics professor, and he taught us that the definition of compromise is when both sides are unhappy. So I'm prepared for that. Listen, I'm a Democrat now for 4 years. I deal with a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm prepared to compromise and to deal with being unhappy in a given situation. But that said, I don't know that I would be effective in that job because of my reputation. So I think it'd be more important for me to try to use what little platform I have to amplify the voices of people who feel like they don't have a means of participating or a voice in the process, and more importantly, to if I can elevate on the profile of people who I do think are good candidates. I don't always get it right, but I try to pick the best candidate in a given race. And here's the thing: I'm not in a cult.
Yeah,
I'm not in a cult. So when I pick a candidate in a given race, the best candidate that I think in a given race, and I promote that person or endorse that person or say, like, this is the best candidate. And I'm not trying to pick winners, by the way. I'm not picking horses at Gulf Street. Like, I'm just trying to say, like, you want to know who the best candidates are on these races? This is my assessment of this. And then no matter who wins, we have to hold them accountable. That is our responsibility as citizens in a constitutional republic, in a semi-democratic constitutional republic. It's not to say, like, when I criticize Danielle Levine Cava, people throw at me as if this is like a big gotcha.
Yeah.
A video that I posted to the internet of me endorsing her. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not in a cult.
Yeah.
Now that she's elected, I picked the best candidate in that race and I supported her. And guess what? To this day, looking back, she's still the best candidate in that race. I didn't get to choose who I wanted to run for mayor. I had to pick a candidate that was on the ballot. I picked the best one, and guess what? She's failed us. And you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to make excuses for her.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want.
Because I promoted her.
Yeah, because I know some schmuck with a pronoun and a string of numbers, and one follower, an account that was created yesterday, is going to post the video that I posted to the internet of me. I'm like, I stand by my endorsement on the day that I posted that.
Yeah.
And now I stand by my criticism of her and how she has failed us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be, because at the end of the day, it's government. It's not like... It's not
sports.
Not sports.
It's not no matter what Tom Brady does. Yeah. I don't care if he cheats. I don't care if he steals. I don't care. I'm going to support. No, this isn't sport. This is our democracy here.
Yeah.
This is not, like you got to be responsible about this shit. You have to call. I don't care what team you're on, what color shirt you're wearing, what letter you have after, your name or what. You just got to calls it like you sees it.
Damn, that's intense, bro. That's intense. I mean, last thing I want to touch you about that's also very political, that's recently been like on the forefront of the vast majority of people in the nation, is gun control, because of what happened at Uvalde recently and at Tops in Buffalo. I mean, gun control is one of those super, especially in Miami and in Florida, very touchy subjects, right? 100%, I don't understand how, just off the bat, common sense, you cannot have an alcoholic drink until you 21 years old, but you could go buy an AR-15 with mad bullets.
In a vending machine. Yeah.
Same day. That, as you're 18, like, that shit makes no motherfucking sense to me. It's like common sense as fuck. If you don't even let this motherfucker have an alcoholic drink, what makes you think that he should have an AR, like, when he's 18? Like, that's off the bat. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for that. Oh, 18-year-olds could join the army. Yeah, but they're also highly trained. And for you to go in the army, you gotta go through background checks like a motherfucker and make sure that your mental health and all that shit is right. And then they teach you how to use the gun and how to properly holster it, all of that. So it's not even apples to apples. You coming at me with some other bullshit. But like gun control and these mass shootings that are happening, and it's happened here in South Florida. It's not like, oh, this shit is gone over there. No, this shit literally happened like 30, 40 minutes away from here. How do you see this playing out?
We have a First Amendment, freedom of speech. Yet you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the sort of constitutional rule, which is to say that if you yell fire and you create a stampede and people get hurt, you can't say, well, I had freedom of speech. I said fire. Yeah. I can say fire whenever I want to say fire in this country. The government can't. No. It's like there's depraved indifference. You create an environment in which people were injured with your speech. Mm-hmm. There is such a thing as hate speech. I don't know that I agree with all the applications of those laws, but there is such a thing as hate speech that not only is hateful towards a group of people for whatever reason it may be, their race, their gender identity, their religion, but there is speech that not only is hateful but incites violent acts against a group of people for no other reason than being born the way that they were born. Mm-hmm. Very, very smart jurist put it this way for lay people. They said your right to wave your arms around ends where my nose begins, which is to say that your freedoms have to be limited to the point that they infringe upon somebody else and somebody else's autonomy and freedom and ability to choose their own destiny and their own freedoms. And so the same thing has to apply to the Second Amendment. There has to be limitations. I don't think George Washington would have expected an 18-year-old to be able to walk into a store and the same day walk out with two weapons, that he could walk into a schoolhouse and be able to destroy a child to the point where the authorities require DNA from family members in order to positively ID them because they have been torn to unrecognizable shreds. I don't think that's what they intended. I will say that John F. Kennedy, in a very famous speech, said, because I think it all comes back to the empathy gap, that
empathy gap.
We all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. And I think that what everybody has to do is say, very easily, any one of those 19 children could have been our children.
Yeah.
And has to say that I don't want my child to be in a school that is like a prison. Okay? We don't need door control in this country. We need gun control in this country. I don't want my child to, I don't want my child's teacher to be armed.
Yeah. To be a
I want them to be a
security guard.
Right. I don't want my kid to have, and other kids to have guns. I think everybody needs to take a moment and have some empathy and take a deep breath. And the reality is that most Americans feel the way that we do about it. Who doesn't feel that way is the people who sit up on that dais because they're so manipulated by money and they're so manipulated by the NRA. Those are the only people, and they're doing it for money. That's what's so cynical and that's what's so bleak and so dark about it, is that the same people who would purport to be pro-life, the same people who would purport to care about babies, would have elementary school children used as target practice by another child who can walk in, might as well be a vending machine. I said event, but it might as well be, because if he's going to walk in a building and out of a building with an AR-15, then it might as well have been from a vending machine. But I don't think anybody really believes that that's how this should work. We know no other country believes that. We know when you ask anybody around the world, because we're the only country in the world. The only country in the world. I understand there's mental health problems, but guess what? Every country has people
with mental health
problems. We're the only country that legally hands those people guns. AR-15s and says there's nothing we can do about it, I guess. We're the only country that does that. So we know there's a better way because every single country in the world does it better. How do I know they do it better? Because they don't wake up every day. Memorial Day weekend, 11 mass shootings over Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it's intense.
There's no other country in the world where that's happening.
Well, Billy, thank you so much, man.
I'm sorry. You're like, where's my antidepressants?
All right. Best thing of Miami. We've hated a lot on Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Best thing, your favorite thing of Miami.
You know, I think there's you realize that without the Cuban people, or really anyone from the Caribbean, without African American people, Miami would have no culture. It would just be another white Southern sleepy town. What would we have? Barbecue and country music? What would it be? I like that Miami as diverse and divided as it is, that it has a culture. It has a very distinct pulse. It has a very unique sound. It has a unique culinary or several unique culinary institutions that that I can't drink coffee anywhere else in the world. Okay, I got to tell you.
That's for sure.
All right, I like that. I get nervous. I go someplace with too many white people. I'm like, get my ass back to Miami. White people are plotting. Okay, you see too many white people together, they're plotting against the Jews, against black people, against immigrants, against this. I'm like, I need to get me the fuck out of here and get some café con leche. Give me some cortadito. Give me some ropa vieja. But I like that sort of anything you can think of, you can do. I like that nothing is for everyone, but we have something for everyone here. I like that there's shit that I like that there's going to be a soccer stadium that I may never go to. I like that there's Ultra that I've never been and will never go to. But I just like that we have a performing arts center. We have shit that people want to do. They don't want to go to see baseball games, but we do have that arena. I think we're now second to last in the league for attendance, not the last. I think Tampa we're always in a race with Tampa, but nonetheless, I like most things about Miami. That's the most important thing, is that I like most things about, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Otherwise, I think by and large my movies celebrate Miami. I think my movies have done more than any tourist Bureau or Greater Miami the Beaches has done to promote Miami as a destination, as a fun, cool, dangerous, sexy place. I hear from people all the time, kids who said, or students, they're not kids anymore, who said, I decided to go to the University of Miami because I saw your You documentary or documentaries. Not just football players or athletes, but just students who are I saw those documentaries and I said, fuck it, I'm going to the U. And I'm like, well, that's a really irresponsible way to make such an important life decision. But respect, but what I'm saying is that we've always had this reputation as Miami, as America's Casablanca, right? And that's cool. People like that. They find that very, very appealing. My famous saying, I can't go through a whole fucking podcast without saying it, is that LA is where you go when you want to be somebody. New York is where you go when you are somebody. And Miami is where you go when you want to be somebody else. Always been a sunny place for shady people. And Florida has been like that in general. I'll tell you a funny story I very rarely tell to leave you with. But back in the late 90s, I was dating a girl who went to UCF in Orlando. Okay. So I would drive from UM.
Damn.
But I drive like it was nothing. It'd be 2 a.m. I'd be like, yo, I'll see you in the morning. And I'd be there by 7. But when you're young and caffeinated and you're just and horny, you just go.
More of the latter.
But you just go. So, long story even longer, the Turnpike rest stops back in the day. Mm-hmm. I never this is pre-cell phones with cameras and shit, and so I don't have any evidence that this ever existed. Maybe I could dig it up in public records, but in some of the Turnpike rest stops, there was a vending machine, and this vending machine was basically, it was a box like a video game. Mm-hmm. It was a big box with a monitor and a keyboard and then underneath it was a like a regular stand-up video game unit with like a printer and a tray for the print. And it was a whole online touchscreen, not touchscreen, but keyboard system where you could design and print your own business cards, letterhead, and stationery.
What the fuck? On the turnpike?
At a turnpike rest stop. So basically, you could be driving down the country, hitting the end of the road, hitting the dead end that is Florida.
South Florida.
And you could make yourself anything that you want to be.
Reinvent yourself.
And in those days, we weren't Googling each other or looking at so it was like you handed someone a business card.
That's who you were.
That's who you were. Yeah. And you wrote them a letter on letterhead, or you put it in an envelope with your stationery. You didn't have to do the wax, the wax stamp or anything. But like that was who you were. And so on your way down, the Florida Turnpike you could be anything you wanted to be. I mean, how else to explain Charlie Crist? I mean, a man who was a Republican governor turned like independent Senate candidate, turned Democratic gubernatorial candidate, turned Democratic congressman, turned Democratic gubernatorial candidate. Yeah. Florida is the land of reinvention.
100%.
Yeah. And for what I do for a living, which is tell stories, you may be able to name 2 or 3 places as good as Miami to ply that trade, but there's no place better.
Yeah, no, out here. And South Florida has another thing that I always say is like that Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees of separation. Out here's like 1 or 2 degrees between you and anybody.
Big old incestuous family down here. Big old incestuous cesspool of a
It's like, yo, do you know this? Like in any direction, you could be like, do you know that person?
Yeah.
You could talk to a cartel.
Yeah. Know that person? I probably have their STDs. What are you talking about? How many degrees?
We partied at Ultra together last week. It was intense. Yeah, man. It's definitely a beautiful place. I've loved growing up here and meeting so many of the various people. But I do applaud you for like trying to make it better, bro. I mean, there's not a lot of people out here trying to do that shit. A lot of people, they just like you said, like they just get the free booze and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of cartels, can we honor for a moment your MDX shirt right now?
This is the MDX throwback, bro.
Can we take a moment? Pour a little out for the toll booth workers that aren't with us anymore.
Something my kids will never know what a toll booth worker is.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "What the fuck
is amazing,
a toll booth worker?"
This is amazing. I always wanted one of those.
Yeah, man. I thrifted this shit.
I was gonna say, had to be Goodwill, right?
No, actually, I got it off my pops. He had got it and he has saved it for a long time, and he never wanted to give it to me. I was like, "Dad, give it to me." And then nature took its course and he passed and I inherited it. So now I rock it all the time. It's 2 things. It's like super vintage and it reminds me of my pops all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I love it. Throwback as fuck. Well, thank you so much, Billy, for coming on to the BOLA podcast, talking to me, letting us know what's happening, how you see the world from your perspective. I highly, highly appreciate you for like trying to make the city better. A lot of people don't want to try to even go down that path because they're going to get called haters and all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's necessary like to call out the people who have the power to do the various things that could help the constituencies and help the hoi polloi, help us all out, like become a better city. Like if you don't call out the bullshit, the cesspools is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, I don't know if you're winning, though.
No, I'm definitely not. No, the realtors are winning. They outnumber us.
The realtors are winning, but we need more on this side, bro. Like, calling out that bullshit. I mean, you know what's going to win ultimately? Climate change, motherfucker. That's going to win. 100%.
Bet on Mother Nature.
Mother Nature is going to
have
win.
her way with us.
1 million bazillion %. When you walk outside and you have 3 feet of water, fucking standing water on like 4 out of the 7 days out of the week, you're going to be like, what the fuck happened here? Why did grandpa give me the shitty ass fucking property that I can't do shit with? That's crazy. Like these people are like, oh, I'm leaving this shit for my kids. What you leaving for your kids? Headaches, motherfucker? Like what? This ain't nobody gonna buy this shit. It's gonna be crazy. Whatever, bro.
You're a hater, dude.
Yeah, I'm a hater as fuck. Bro, 100%. Thank you for coming on the podcast,
Thanks for having
man.
me.
It was an awesome time, man. Thank you so much. Peace. Oh, like I always say, if you like this shit, share it with your friends. If you hate this shit, share it with your enemies. But just share this motherfucker, all right? Peace. Yo, You heard it there first, my dog. I want to thank Billy Corben for coming out to the podcast, blessing us with his time, his thoughts, his energy. Thank you so much, Billy, for coming on and expressing your views with us, man. It was a really dope thing you did for us. You blessed us with your presence. That was dope. And I really hope everybody listening out there got something out of this. I hope you guys wake up to the fact that climate change is real. We need to do something about that. Anyways, I love y'all. You know what it is, D-Fig. Holla at your boy, Fresher Fresh Media, Que Vola Podcast. Anybody out there who knows any other South Florida creatives who's shaping the culture and influencing the culture, holla at your boy. I'd love to have him on the podcast, all right? WhatsApp, WASSA, at fresherfresh.com. That's the email. Or follow us at fresherfresh on IG, at Que Vola Podcast, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. Hasta la próxima. Like I always say, if you like it, share it with your friends. If you hate it, share it with your enemies. But just share this motherfucker, all right? Peace.